All right. We got a huge commitment today, and Milan, you say the last name? I can't really say it.
Milan Momcilovic. Been practicing a while, so
Yeah, we thought we had the name right before we press started, and we messed it up right out of the gate. But
so
he's
we're back. I mean,
yeah
let's make this kind of a big deal. We haven't done one for quite a while, so we got new equipment, we got a new studio, we rearranged things,
yeah we got a new studio. We moved
we moved
exactly.
it 25 feet, painted
Yeah,
the walls. It's kind of a big deal. You know what I'm
yeah,
saying?
yeah. So Milan, we got him top 35 recruit out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin,
Pewaukee, say you
Milwaukee,
pronounce it.
Wisconsin,
Yeah.
and he I don't want to be like over hyping the guy, but he might be the best, like just on tape, most excited I've been to get recruits since Liddell for like just recruiting rankings and all that
Yeah.
because I've we obviously have been hearing murmurs about it for a while that he's going to come, but we've learned if we haven't learned in this last summer and this summer that nothing's a guarantee
No, right. Yeah.
and someone can come in and offer him. Probably he probably did get offered a lot of money, but I think he just really likes TJ, and we have a lot of good connections with Wisconsin, and I think it's just it's exciting to have a player we already know that before he even plays his senior year of basketball that he's going to play at Iowa State, and he actually wants to,
Right.
because it's not like all the big schools are going to come in at the very end and scoop him up like it usually does to Iowa State, but it's just nice to. I think this would not happen without the Fred era, and because he grew up probably watching George Niang and Monte just like Will did.
Deontay
Who-
Garrett, go back to him. I
Yeah,
mean, and Deontay Burton. I mean,
yeah. So we have a lot of people to point to that has had success at Iowa State playing basketball, and we got another one, and he looks like a complete stud because
yeah.
he looks like I hate to say it, he kind of reminds me like little faster Luca Garza, like just
Well,
great,
that's a
great
pretty
basketball
low
player.
bar to making a faster Luca Garza is a pretty low bar to
But he
cross.
also was like player of the year in college. But like
Yeah. Well, I know
obviously,
that, but
he obviously reminds me like the best version of himself is like Dirk, like a
right.
smaller version of Dirk. Like that's his type of game, and it's just. And we also got Jelani Hamilton.
Jelani Hamilton, yeah.
It's the yeah.
That
Probably
came out that kind of came out of nowhere. I mean, he's from
because his
Georgia.
yeah his both his parents went to Iowa State,
Non-athletes,
and
but
we used that connection, and
right.
obviously he took his visit, and his parents obviously like coming to Iowa State, and we got the 18th best shooting guard to come on with the class, and it's shaping up to be the best class we ever had.
Which is crazy.
Which
I mean,
which just you have to just point this back at making the Sweet 16 and just completely erasing the 2020 year of where there was no crowds and we had the worst year ever. We just changed everyone's minds about Iowa State basketball. And so, like TJ's, we were arguing that maybe we should buy out Fred for $20 million and get him back to
right.
Iowa State. No, we got TJ, like, was a safe hire, and he's done exactly. I don't know what TJ could do better from what he's done at Iowa State right now because Fred's never gotten that big of a high school recruit. Steve got Lindell, and obviously, Tyrese was a pretty darn good player, but
Yeah.
he wasn't obviously in the
Pretty good.
composite. That's why I can't. That's why like the recruiting rankings, like you gotta take it as it is because Tyrese wasn't really was a 3-star recruit,
But
but
Tyrese
it's
never
just
played
really
point guard for us. I mean,
yeah he never. Well, that's why it was just yeah we can't go looking backwards. We're
yeah,
looking
no, I
forwards,
mean,
but
but I'm
like
saying I mean, so we have Milan or Milan, and so that's the thing that I don't understand. We had Milan Moses that played for us. Now we have Milan. Is that how you pronounce it? I guess we don't.
yeah.
Not 100% sure, but anyway, so he comes in at a 6'8" guard, and we don't know where he's going to end up.
But he's just exactly like what we were missing last year. That's exactly what we wanted last year. It's like, oh, we just needed a guy who can like obviously Brockington was just phenomenal last
Right.
year.
Too
But
bad about him.
but he had to work his ass off to get a shot
Yeah,
every
did you
time.
see what happened to him last week?
No,
Yeah, I think he blew his ACL.
really,
Yeah.
dang, because yeah, we have had the praises of Isaiah Brockington because looking at the timeline of Iowa State history, he is going to be a key part because why would like him and Tyrese Hunter? Obviously, Tyrese left for Texas, but just looking back at being an 18-year-old kid coming to Iowa State with Isaiah Brockington, and we just thought I didn't have any confidence that we were going to even be
No,
good at all, and
no.
the he, the tournament in New York was so fun where we beat up on Memphis, who had all the young bucks, and um uh, who was
Dude who went to Eastern
Shaq.
Michigan? Oh,
Penny
no.
Hardaway.
Oh,
Penny
yeah,
Hardaway,
Blue Chips.
who happens to be he's not exactly his coaching is not the best right now because like
He practiced cheating on Blue Chips, the movie.
yeah probably and just I don't know if in Blue Chips I don't know if they won anything.
They did win. I mean, that was a fun movie for me because Bobby Knight was on it, and Rick Pitino was on it. There was a lot of guys that when I was coaching at the time, but then you had, there's a random Indiana guy that gets offered a tractor in the movie for to come to a school, and then at the end of the movie, they're talking about that. But that was a fun movie. Penny Hardaway was awesome, obviously an awesome player, but to have Memphis connected with all of the stuff that's going on and what he was doing when he was a college kid. I mean, it's kind of ironic.
But like just looking at what's going on now in blue, like it's literally Blue Chips, but the entire country. Like we're
correct.
giving
It's legalized.
legalized,
It's legalized Blue Chips.
like yeah, just giving
Yeah.
kids cars and whatever. But we still in the like that's what's so impressive about what TJ's doing. We have Milan, we have Jelani Hamilton looking to have the best recruiting class ever. Where the landscape of college basketball's changed so much, but it's just nice to have a coach who saw Iowa State as the lowest of low and bring us to back to where we were. And what was the one thing that I always said about Fred leaving that we would never get the big recruits because we would only get the system was working off transfers. I think that was completely BS because this shows that it was because
Right.
we've had a pretty good year. We had a great year last year, and we are back to where we were in the Yang years, basically, with talent coming in.
Right.
Because, but
As far as we know,
which I don't get
mean,
is Fred leaving is like, oh, just looking at the recruiting, he couldn't get because, but well, I think why he couldn't get those guys is because every offseason it was like, which NBA interview he's gonna do,
right.
and we knew he was gonna leave for the NBA, but we just didn't know what. That's why these big time recruits don't want to commit to a school and then have to decommit, and it's just back then that was a whole ordeal. Obviously, now it's a very more flexible, but
Yeah, I mean, the whole transfer thing has changed everything. I mean, think about if a kid would have taken a gamble on Fred, knowing that he could transfer and then immediately be eligible if it didn't work out. I mean,
yeah,
that's kind of what
that's why I
made
think
everybody hesitate because he was possibly going to go to the NBA. But now with the transfer rule, if he would have gone to the NBA, they could have transferred wherever they wanted to, and it
yeah,
wouldn't have been that big a deal.
that's why him leaving for the NBA, we're so glad it happened when it did because I think it would have just absolutely blown up. Monte would have left. Matt Thomas probably left.
Yeah.
All these players that came for Fred is like, why would I just maybe trust the new guy that's going to come in that they're going to pick, or I can go to an established coach right away because I can transfer right away. But
Right.
that's back when,
You didn't have to sit a year. And,
yeah. But
you know,
yeah, that's why I don't know. It's just this kind of makes me think that Fred could have worked it out if he actually wanted to be at Iowa State for the long term because
sure. So
we have pipeline stuff, and
Right.
he just obviously he said 1,000 times that he hates recruiting, and um, maybe that's why he's not doing great in Nebraska. I'm not sure why. But obviously,
there's
they
a lot of reasons
they
he's not
don't
doing
they,
good
they
in
don't have
Nebraska.
they don't have the culture
Number
or the
one,
fan.
it's Nebraska.
Yeah, they don't have the fan base like we do, or the yeah. It's just I don't know. Not to like trying to bash the Fred era or like the him leaving, but I just think this kind of shows that myth of we would have just gone off cliff was I don't think that's true at all.
But that's the way Iowa State fans are, those that we think the world is coming to an end every time something negative happens. I mean, when Fred left, we thought, this is the end of the world because we're never going to get back to where we were. And then we have to survive the Steve era with some of the stuff that went on there. No offense to Steve, but it wasn't exciting at all. And now and we go from 2 wins to the Sweet 16 in 1 year,
Yeah.
where everybody knows that TJ wanted the job to begin with.
It just made it awkward.
mean,
It just made it like
Yeah.
it made it look like we missed with a mark there. But that obviously we have reversed course.
That's happened a
We're
lot.
back.
Yeah.
We're back to we're just glad that TJ is a good enough guy and not bitter to like go against like obviously I don't know, not to get like philosophical. Like love and hate is pretty close, you know. And he could have gone to the hatred route because Jamie said no, you're not ready, or the President Leith more like that. But it's just I'm just glad how much. And I think his wife being going to Iowa State
Iowa State alum, very
helps a lot.
fantastic basketball player back then.
helps out a lot, and
Sure.
it just makes me excited for the future because obviously we love Iowa State basketball, and it's just nice to see like we're back already, and it's just so fast. Like I still can't believe last season. It's been so long that I can't believe how. Because like, do you remember how depressed we were every time we watched basketball?
Depressed is a strong word. I mean, we were just not.
We were not happy.
No, I mean, it was go back to the McDermott years. That was the first time your mom was saying I was changing the channel in the middle of a game. She had never done that in our married life. I'd never done that in my married life. And then we were back to the prom era, and then we were changing the channel in the middle of the game because it was so bad. And then we were excited about TJ coming, just hoping we could get to 500 maybe.
Or like we were just NIT even. We're like
just be competitive. That's all we kept saying. Go back to our old podcast. We just wanted to be competitive, and then all the expectations exploded, and we think we're going to be flipping national champions. I mean,
and it's just crazy how much playing in the tournament matters.
Sure.
We flamed out kind of in the regular season. We lost to Texas Tech in the worst, the fewest points we ever scored in Hilton on senior night. And then we go and get absolutely killed by Texas Tech again, the Big 12 championship game. And then we don't even remember that.
Right.
That doesn't even come to our mind.
Right.
That's why the tournament is so weird, how it's so much. That's why it's so great, because there's so much pressure on, just think about, I know we bash on Iowa all the time, but they had Luka Garza, White Wieskamp, even the Bryce John Jones team. We don't think of that team like it's one of the best. I do, because they had stacked talent, but we would think that would be the best team ever if it just got to the same length of what Tinsley and Visor got to,
right?
Because of the amount of talent they had. But back then they were so collective, and they were like the perfect team because they gelled together. And I think that last Fred team showed, doesn't matter if you have 8 NBA players on the team, if they have any chemistry problems, if there's any bad apples, we have to get back. We get down 20 and we have to roar back.
Right.
Remember those years?
We know for a fact that we never played defense in practice.
Yeah.
And Fred's philosophy was, we're going to outscore you. We know from firsthand knowledge that in practice they were not working on shell drill very often to work on man-to-man defense. And so
just looking at our play style now and how TJ runs things.
Oh my God.
Was he just sitting there in the corner just mad?
She had to be just, oh my gosh, I can't imagine. TJ is so good at coaching defense, and then having to watch that. I mean, it had to be,
I don't know, probably practice.
Crazy.
Obviously they're good offensive players.
Right.
But
you think back to Fred's history. I mean, Johnny Orr was similar. Johnny Orr practiced offense mostly, wanted to outscore people. He invented Hilton Magic. And then he goes to Tim Floyd, who is a defensive-minded coach, and so he kind of saw both ends of it. And I think maybe, I don't know Fred personally, I mean, I'd never talked to him about this, so maybe he was thinking the way to get Hilton Magic back is to run it up and down like Johnny did.
And he did. He did everything he said in his press conferences, other than my son Jack is going to put an Iowa State uniform on and be a walk-on,
and also get a bunch of European players. He said that too.
Yeah, but basically everything he said happened. He turned it over so fast, and without him getting there, we're not sitting here today celebrating a borderline 5-star. I think he'll be a 5-star.
He's going to be a pro. I mean, he's got the body. He's 6'8". He's 17 years old. People don't realize, he is 17. I mean, he could put on 30 pounds tomorrow. I mean,
and which seeing just what I think about him is just he's just really good at basketball. Like,
Yes.
it's not
He's
about
like George.
it's not like about the
Very good at
big
basketball, big,
dunks.
taller.
It's not about the big dunks. It's not about like the flashy. Like obviously, if you really know basketball, like you watch his highlights, you're like, yeah, there's something there. Like he just has a feel. Even the how AU is like it's so like rugged on defense. It you can even watch it on his film. That it doesn't really bother him that much. And he's not the biggest dude. Obviously, he's
No.
17 and 6'8". Probably just hasn't been 6'8" for long, probably.
Right.
And he's gonna grow into his body, and I think him and Hilton are gonna be a perfect match. And I don't know, it's just knowing also that we also have a 5-star recruit in state that might come to Iowa State too.
Yeah.
It's just
Can you
it
imagine
can't.
if Omaha decides to come and then we sneak in somebody else? I mean,
Yeah, like
that's a crazy class.
we could even yeah, like even the transfers we got now that are gonna be good next year. Just like knowing, even if we struggle next year, let's just say worst case scenario we struggle that next year. Like we are really good on defense, but we just can't. We don't have the Brockington to like go over
Yeah.
the hill of like go off and just win the game because
Yeah.
like he did that a lot last year.
Yes, he did.
And I'm just saying, but if we have that, we have in our back of our minds, we have like it's like the Deontay Garrett, Fred first team. It's like we have Royce, we have Chris Allen, we got Chris Babb sitting there
Yeah.
watching him play, and like
Yeah.
I remember how annoying that was when we'd be like we'd go to a Kansas game or a Texas game, and they have all the 5-star recruits of all the NBA talent, and we have a future NBA coach and a bunch of NBA players that are sitting in the stands eating
Winning all of the scrimmages in practice too. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be fun. I mean, I think we'll be better this year than probably people give us credit for. Asuni's going to be, best shot blocker we've seen in a long time. I think the guards we've got are going to be better, and we've got guys returning. I mean, we lost Tyrese. Fine. Welcome to Hilton when you come back, and let's see how bad we can beat Texas, because Texas is all guards. They don't have an Asuni. I mean, so
I guess we have to figure out then. Obviously, that's a long ways down the road to breaking down Texas roster, but
yeah, I don't care. I don't want to talk about Tyrese
Yeah.
anymore. Don't wish him ill. Don't wish him luck. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean,
No, but like-
he took the paycheck and ran. That's the way. Exactly what happened. So we're excited about the guys that are here. Gabe is here doing a great job in the community. He's been all over the place on social media doing stuff. And speaking of that, and we just watched a story on the news with Monty Morris being back in town. Went to the boys club in town. He's threw out the first pitch of the Iowa Cubs game. Your little brother got pictures of him with his mom when we went to the Big 12 tournament, not that long ago. He came out and wished Will, your brother, happy birthday when he was playing at Iowa State. So he is, ingrained in the Iowa State culture, and that does nothing but help us. I mean, when you have George Niang being on TV as much as he's been, Monty Morris, his trade to the Wizards, getting as much press as it is. I mean, it just can't hurt recruiting by any means. I mean,
yeah, and I think what Iowa State offers, which I'm not saying obviously there's thousands of other schools that probably offer this too, but like just like the obviously you're saying Monte coming back on the boys club and all that, but if he would have just left for money like his junior year or sophomore year and like go to Kentucky and play behind Tyler Eulis or whatever, and just not barely see the court, but if he stayed at Iowa State, he would have built into what he was now, an NBA player. And it's just fun to see. You can have both. Like you can have your college experience and
make money and get paid
and make money, and that's what I think today is just like obviously when all the NIL stuff, like we've been doom and gloom. Like obviously we're gonna be Iowa State, we're gonna be like the Cardinals, we're gonna be the A's. Like but this shows that we got something still. Like we still have a lot to offer if it's not money. Like we have we have what 6 or 7 NBA players right now. Lindell was lighting up the summer league this year, like averaging 20 points and whatever for the Bucks. Which if he can play for the Bucks rotation, which he could play for a title game.
So think about if TJ had Lindell.
I know, like the defense would have been.
He would have been a much better defensive player. It would have turned him a little more. I mean, I think there was something going on with Steve and Lindell.
I think what I think about that is think about what was wrong with that era was we had really good players, but we just didn't know our positions.
We had
Lin,
no offense.
like
I
Lindell,
mean,
like he's not a point guard. He's a shooting guard, kind of. Like
yeah,
he's kind of a mixture.
freak
And you
athlete.
have and you get Tyrese Halliburton, one of the like if you look at NBA culture, like he's one of the favorite young players coming up. And it's just weird how he played Iowa State, and we just went to the Sweet 16. We had Robert Jones doing hook shots, and
Right.
we have
Gotta
Halliburton.
love Robert Jones. I mean, nobody talks about him. He's coming back next year.
Yeah,
He gives us 5 more fouls. He works his butt off.
and
I am a huge Robert Jones fan.
he knows his role, and he does it.
Yes. He's
And
not shooting threes.
and if
I
he
mean,
and like the thing about him is if he has a like he goes for it sometimes, right? Like that's what the thing is. He picks and chooses his spots, but if he doesn't have it that night, he just
sure.
stops.
Right. Yeah.
Like we had other players that I'm doing it no matter what.
Right.
Like it's kind of like the Russell Westbrook Lakers thing. Like
Yeah.
I used to be this or like but them saying that like was in high school and middle school. But like I'm not gonna change. Like you can bench me. That's where like I think we had a lot of problems with the other era, but that's just nice to see. I think like Million is just literally like a George Niang piece. Like if he
Yeah.
stay like I don't think he'll stay for 4 years because he's freaking good.
Yeah.
But like if he could be a potential guy that stays 4 years and actually wants to be somewhere.
So can I this is not a diss on Milan or Milan, however you pronounce it.
It's not. I don't think it's Milan.
If he's here 4 years, it's a miss.
yeah.
I think he's that good.
yeah, he's that good.
I mean, I think he is 2 and done maximum. I mean, if he is here 4 years, something has gone wrong where, you know, unless he just wants to play college basketball for 4 years, which then is a different story. But if he's not in the draft conversation in the next couple of years,
Yeah,
you know,
which
I think something has been awry. But he's playing against high level high school players in high school. He's playing obviously in the highest level in AAU in the summer. So you know the thing about AAU that's changed things is that these guys that might be the big fish in a small pond in high school go to AAU, and if they're still dominating, like this girl that's from Algona that's going to play at Iowa State next year, played in a very, very small high school,
yeah,
but is going to go to Iowa State and play basketball. Aubrey Crooks, right? That's her name. She's dominating and she's dominating in the AAU circuit because she's really good.
yeah.
Doesn't matter what level, she's still really good. She's also
Mhm.
a super nice person. So that's the thing that AAU has changed things with is that it obviously, you know, doesn't, you know, you're not playing in a school with 20 kids a class and dominating, but then never going up against a really, really good player. The AAU thing has changed that
Yeah.
completely.
So like so Nick Collison.
Audie Kirks. Audie, not Aubrey. I apologize, Audie. I ran into you at the mall in Iowa City last weekend, said hi to you. I'm just drew a blank on your name for some reason. So she's got a Fort Dodge connection, super person, super family. Hoping she just dominates when she gets to Iowa
Yeah,
State.
Iowa State basketball, both sides have a bright future because we have Lexi. Yeah, go down the list. They're fun.
Jones
to watch.
girls playing USA basketball. I mean, it's crazy.
So yeah, there's since we've been gone, there's also been some conference realignment talk that's gonna happen. UCLA, USC joins the Big Ten. I know what you think, but let's hear what you think.
About those guys, I
but
could
what do you
care
thi-
less whether they went to
But
the
like,
Big Ten or not.
what's it do for like the landscape of just college athletics in general?
Well, I mean, obviously this whole money thing is changed things completely. We don't know what's going to happen with the Arizona schools, or you know, it would be sweet if Oregon all of a sudden jumped ship and came to us, and we brought in Utah and Arizona State. I think that'd be a lot of fun. But you know, it's really, we have a new commissioner to the Big 12. He used to work with Jay-Z, right? I mean, so I think he's pretty aggressive when it comes to the business side of things. I don't know how it's going to shake out. I mean, if the SEC tries to diminish the other conferences and narrow the number of teams that are competitive, which they've tried to do for years anyway, but if they try to narrow the number of teams that are competitive in college football, it's not going to do anything for the brand, because it's basically going to turn into the D League for the NFL. And people in Iowa are not. How many people go to the Iowa Cubs games? Not many. There's a lot
Yeah.
of Cubs fans in Iowa, but if football turns into just purely a D league for the NFL, you're going to lose a lot of fans, which means they're going to lose a lot of eyes on the TV side of it. So I'm hoping that all we're doing is paring down the conferences. So if you go back 20 years, we had all of these conferences where Texas was in the Southwest Conference or whatever it was, and the ACC was different than it is today. And now we're just going to end up with just a few less conferences, but the same number of teams. I think that will be fine. But if all of a sudden the only people that are on TV are Notre Dame and the SEC and the Big Ten, and the other teams get resigned to being like FCS
Yeah.
versions. I
They're
mean,
just talking
people,
just football, right?
yes, I'm talking about just football
Yeah.
because that pays the bills. I mean, so I think they have to have the Iowa States, the Kansas States, the Oklahoma States, the Arizona States have to have a seat at the table. Otherwise, you're going to lose a giant chunk of fans that if it gets resigned to being, FCS light or FCS whatever 2.0, people aren't going to care. I mean, think about the number of people, not dissing UNI. I love UNI. It's a great asset to our state. But you look at the number of UNI fans that travel versus the number of Iowa State fans that travel.
It's also a bigger university.
Right. But I'm just saying that there's not an FCS team that travels like Iowa State does.
Yeah, it's just,
Maybe North Dakota State,
yeah,
but they've won many national championships.
I
There's
don't know.
not another FCS team that's going to travel like what I'm saying is that if the ESPNs of the world and whoever else gets in the mix with the money is trying to figure out a way to diminish some of the smaller schools, it's not going to help the brand of college football at all. College football is super strong right now.
Mhm.
You want as many eyes on the TV as you can. It's must see TV when Iowa State is on TV. For the Kansas State fans, it's the same thing. For Oklahoma State fans, it's the same thing. If all of a sudden we don't have a seat at the table for the national championship, like the SEC was talking about having their own tournament or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not going to help the fandom of these other teams by any means.
Well, like we kind of already know we're not going to ever win it.
That's a defeatist attitude.
I know it is, but we'll take away the Campbell era. What's our mindset?
But look at Kansas State. Kansas State's been in the hunt
Yeah.
a few times. Oklahoma State's been in the hunt.
I don't know. I just think
UCF thinks they won it when Scott Frost was there, but Scott Frost probably wished he was back there.
Yeah.
I mean, and UCF is now going to be in the Big 12. They all think they all went undefeated, but they have teams that won't play them.
But like, I don't know. I obviously being an Iowa State fan, I'm worried about Iowa State, but just thinking like as a college fan, I think watching Texas and Alabama and like Texas play Texas A&M, that's more entertaining than watching them play Kansas State. Like I haven't been a Big 12 fan my whole life, but I don't really watch like the other like minor games.
Yeah, but the SECs aren't scheduling Kansas State. They're scheduling directional Alabama.
But what they've done, I don't think they've done it trying to. They made like these other schools that were in the SEC already, like they're gonna make those schools the FCS schools. Like they're just like the bye week of they're gonna have a huge conference, but the Mississippi States of the world,
Vanderbilt's,
the Kentucky's,
No, I get that, but
like those schools aren't gonna be as good. They're gonna be just like us, but in the tournament, and we're looking outside.
Okay, so you take Iowa out of the picture. When was the last time we had a big time college football team that is not in the Big 12 walk into Jack Trice?
Yeah, it hasn't because
they don't want to. When was the last time it happened in Oklahoma State?
It's not that they don't want to play us. It's because we've also backed our schedule. The scheduling ahead is like our whole lifetime has been like 15 years ahead.
Yeah, I know that. But what I'm saying is, so you're helping my argument. We were 15 years ago. We were not good.
Yeah, that's why.
So why wouldn't Alabama put us on their schedule? Why wouldn't Florida State, besides the game in Arrowhead, why wouldn't they do
because they have to do a home and home with us.
No, they don't. Not money wise. They could say we're going to play you, but you're coming to Florida State 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a good question. That's probably a question for Jamie Pollard and all these guys.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is that it's not that we can't compete; it's that we're not a big enough name to run the risk of losing.
Because we wanted to get 6 wins, which was our mindset back then.
But no, I mean, I think if Jamie Pollard, Alabama came knocking and said, "Hey, we want to play you the second week of the season," do you think he'd say no? The amount of money that would be involved with that?
No, but
Florida State, Florida,
we did play Florida State once.
That was 20-some years ago.
Yeah, I know.
In a neutral site.
But they did play us, so.
Yeah, the last one that I remember, I mean, I haven't done any research on this. The last time I remember was Utah with Urban Meyer.
Yeah,
they absolutely destroyed us. So why wouldn't one of these big-time teams want to go into Manhattan, go into Stillwater, whatever, to help their resume?
Why would that's
because they're scared of getting beat.
But yeah, if that's the case, then why would they load their conference with Texas, Oklahoma, and all these guys? If that's the case,
because that's a conference game. That's different.
But losing is losing.
But it's also money.
Yeah,
look at Alabama's non-conference schedule.
It just increases the
all the SEC teams have a high school team scheduled like the third week in October.
Yeah,
every single one of them.
It might go from having 2 of those games just to 1.
Yeah, so why does the SEC do that? Why do they schedule these, whatever you want to call them, teams, in the middle of October? Because it's a bye week with a win.
Yeah.
So if we could have a bye week with a win, we'd schedule.
That's what we think we do when we
do Wisconsin Platteville, something like that.
No, but we think that too when we schedule UNI.
No, but that's a different animal. Do you know, by the way, UNI is going to play Iowa State and Iowa in the same season in 2026?
Really? That's
something
cool.
Something like that. They're going to play both of us in the same year.
What if they beat? What if they beat?
Oh
us
my
both?
God, that would be hilarious. Not as an Iowa State fan, it wouldn't be funny, but
they beat us both.
I'm so glad we don't play UNI this year. I mean, not dissing UNI, but it's a different animal. They should have won at Kinnick not that long ago, and when they come to Ames, it's always all of these Iowa kids that are just wanting to beat Iowa State.
And they
Same
know
thing.
And they know it can be done because they watched to do it their childhood.
Right,
probably.
and then it's always the first game of the season for us. So we either have somebody hurt, they got hurt in camp, or somebody's ineligible,
and the FCS school is fully healthy.
Correct.
Coming into Jack Trice.
Yeah, I'm not dissing UNI. My brother played with a kid that's going to play offensive line at UNI next year. I mean,
yeah, we pay for their athletic department with that one game, which they beat us as sometimes. And that's the worst.
Not fun.
That's the worst.
Like when we played Drake with David Montgomery, got the Drake game on the schedule. All of a sudden, we had to play in an ice skating rink.
Yeah,
and dang near lost that game. If it's not Drake, if
we lost to Drake,
Winona State.
Yeah,
I mean.
But yeah, it just I don't know.
So can we? You're talking about UCLA and USC. Can we talk about those morons on the UCLA podcast?
They're the one talking about how
they're the ones talking about Milan
Momcilovic.
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
Milan, we're butchering your name.
We will know your
really cool, awesome, tall kid from Wisconsin. We're going to keep calling you. Anyway, so the UCLA guys went on their 247 podcast and totally dissed Iowa, the state of Iowa, and why would their parents do this to this kid in choosing Iowa State over LA, saying, "Oh, you can just jump on a plane." I mean, seriously? I mean, it made me. I don't like LA in general. I've only been there a couple times. But
yeah, this conversation could teeter on politics.
We're not going to talk about politics, but it's a California attitude that
it's just like the elitists think of the Midwest,
right? Exactly.
And yeah, they just probably have never been here. They don't have any idea how good Ames is or how good Hickory Park is. They have no idea.
Well, but no, just so how many people get acclimated to Ames and come back because they've been around big cities and they understand what Ames is like.
Yeah,
George Niang, all of the other guys that we know that have come from cities.
Seneca
Wallace,
Wingstop.
Yeah, all of the came from Sacramento. I mean, so all of these guys that kind of fall in love with this lifestyle that we've got here because you know what? You can let your kid ride his bike down the street
Yeah.
8 blocks and you know he's probably going to come back.
Like even Kurt Stinson's family is still in
Correct.
Iowa, and yeah, that's just an example.
I mean, I saw Seneca on the 4th of July parade this year. I mean,
Yeah.
he married a small town Iowa girl, and his kids absolutely love coming back to the Midwest for the 4th of July. It's almost like going to Disneyland. Sorry to diss you LA guys, but they think it's more fun to come here because it's safe. They can do whatever they want and wander around this small little town
Yeah.
and not get in trouble with anything. So, you know, I was so mad when Brent Bloom and Chris Williams, you know, we're obviously big fans of Cyclone Fanatic, and I was listening to their podcast. I was running when I was listening to it, and I kept running faster and faster because I was getting so mad listening to these guys diss Iowa, Ames, Iowa in general, and it just basically solidified the stereotype of big city people and what they think of the Midwest.
I'd maybe get that I didn't really listen to what they're saying.
I've listened to it multiple times.
But it'd be different if that kid was from LA. He's from the Midwest. He's from
Right.
Wisconsin.
But he's not from Podunk, Wisconsin. I mean, he's from the Milwaukee area.
No, I'm saying
So he's been around the city before.
it's like his parents want to come see him play.
Right.
Like
They
his
can
family wants to
drive
see him
here.
play.
Right.
There's something to be said about that. That's probably a big decision why Monte, because Monte's mom was always there.
Right.
And like
yeah.
all these, that's why like TJ really wants to, like you said, dominate the Midwest, and he has literally been doing that ever since he's came to Iowa State.
So you haven't had a kid that you've had to send off to college before. I have. And I've had children that I've had to send off to wherever, sent you to Arizona, Michael's been in Iowa City, been in Ames, got a daughter that was a freshman at Iowa State last year. When you send them away, I wake up in the middle of the night wondering if they're safe.
Yeah.
And so if I sent my kid that is a great basketball player, I'm not saying I've got a kid that's going to play for UCLA, but if I had to send a kid from Iowa or the Midwest to LA, New York, Philadelphia, go down the list of all of the big cities,
Miami.
I would not sleep. I mean, because that's what parents do. They worry about their kids. If you're in a city and you send your kid to Ames, Iowa, it's like you're sending them to summer camp.
Yeah. That's what, like, when we talked to Royce when he came here that's the one thing he talked about was like, there's nothing to do, man. I'm bored.
Well,
That's like the only thing complaint he had at Ames was that there's really nothing to do, but that's really the only thing he had bad to say about Ames because
Right.
he said about how nice is in the DNA in Ames.
and DeAndre Kane's mom said the same thing.
Yeah. So,
I mean, it's what I think she calls it Focus Town.
and we've also UCLA really hasn't been that like obviously they made the Final Four when they were
in the playing game. Yeah.
but like they haven't really been relevant for a while.
Right.
Like obviously they have the best history other than Kentucky and Kansas,
yeah.
you know, but
Pre-
it's just like
25 years before the 3-point line.
it's kind of like the Texas mentality of like we used to be good, like we have the brand,
Nebraska.
yeah, like it's just the same thing, but they're just further away. So I think it kind of
But it's LA. I mean, there's a reason Joe Rogan took the biggest podcast in the universe and got it the heck out of LA.
Most of the comedians, there's a bunch of billionaires that left. We can go.
Tesla moved there. I mean, we're not going down the politics road. These are facts.
Yeah.
I mean, and the taxes out there. I mean, everything. I had a really good time in LA 3 years ago for a weekend, but it's just different. I mean, that's just the way it is. And so
So you're saying that the championships they had like 40, 30 years ago wouldn't make you change your mind to send your kid to, you know?
do you really think the best tailback in the country is deciding they're going to go to Nebraska because they won the national championship in 1992 or 93? No.
But like UCLA, they have everything. Like obviously we've talked bad about LA. Obviously we like probably the whole country knows what's wrong with LA, like the problems. Like, but they also have
It's not dog pile. It's not dog piles.
there's also
you're stepping over.
sunshine, the history.
Right.
They have
the weather's
everything.
fantastic.
They have everything to offer.
Weather's great in Phoenix too.
But I'm saying, yeah, like that's why it just shows that it's more than that. Like obviously Milan, his family probably trusts, like you said, going to Ames, Iowa, drivable, great. We have a decent history in basketball. Like,
Yeah.
even look at that poster. We have a bunch of good players that came to Iowa State.
Yeah.
And some of them in Michigan, Wisconsin area. That's where really how Iowa State's basketball got kickstarted into what it is today. Is like um
Gary Thompson?
no, Gary Thompson. He was a Rolling Rocket from
Rolling Rocket. Who are you talking about?
Barry Stevens.
Barry Stevens, the
Then we
beginning
got
of it.
Jeff Rear, and then we got just a bunch of other. That's
Yeah.
where the pipeline started. Like, yeah, it's just nice.
Barry
to,
Stevens was the big one, and that was
Yeah.
the beginning of the Johnny era. But I mean, you can go back before that. I mean, I'm dating myself, but you had Herkel Ivey, Andrew Parker. There's other guys that I believe one of them just passed. He was from Philadelphia, and his name doesn't ring a bell. And his parents sent him to Ames for that reason back in the '60s. So this is not something new.
Yeah,
And so, if you have a parent that truly worries about their child and wants them to succeed and wants them to have a great experience and be safe, Ames, Iowa is a pretty darn good choice.
yeah,
He's not going to jump in a car and all of a sudden end up in a place that he could get himself in big trouble. You'd have to drive a long ways to have that happen. You're not going to jump in a car and drive to Ogden and get in trouble with your
Yeah,
friends.
like,
I mean,
that's
if you're
why-
in West LA and drive to or East LA or wherever you're going to go, you could end up in the wrong place in the wrong time pretty fast.
which take away TJ's like relationships and all that. Like starting at Iowa State and now ending at Iowa State. Like, why would he choose to come to UNLV to Iowa State?
Oh,
That exact same reason.
Yeah, it's the same reason Matt
Yeah.
Campbell's there. I
Yeah.
mean, same reason that a lot of those guys want to raise their kids in Ames, Iowa, or Gilbert, Iowa, or Roland Story, or wherever. I mean, it's a place that kids can have a really good experience in high school, and you don't have to worry about them,
Yeah,
accidentally taking the wrong turn, going down the wrong street.
I was listening to Campbell on this radio show in Texas, like on the media days. He was even talking about that during the pandemic, how like when he had to be home, it just like showed him how much he's missing out on, and like how like Iowa is just perfect of like they love the school they're at, and it's just like they're settled. They're like that's why they these radio guys just kept hammering him like, why are you still at Iowa State? And he's just like, they just thought he was a different breed, and he's just a Midwest guy.
Why is Kirk Ferentz still in Iowa City?
Yeah.
I mean, Iowa City is not
When did
LA.
But like,
I mean, Kirk Ferentz is a great football coach. I have a huge amount, even though he's a Hawkeye, I have a huge amount of respect for him. You and I personally know many guys that have played for him. They have never said a negative word about him, but he could have jumped ship. He came from the NFL to go to Iowa City.
But my question is, when did when did the media, when did the rumor mills stop? Like, say, okay, he's fine. Like,
When he got older,
yeah, but like,
that's all that's happened.
but I remember like being little and thinking, oh, he's gonna go to the Chiefs,
Right.
Like he's gonna go, but like it stopped. Some like,
Yeah,
when-
'cause he got
is that-
older.
Is it gonna be? Yeah, but all the
So
old,
when Matt Campbell turns 50, it'll probably stop. 55.
but Saban and all those old coaches are the best coaches in the
But
world.
you're not
are
going to talk
older
about
ones.
Saban. I mean, seriously.
All right, yeah, you're right.
Saban leaves a tip on the dresser as he leaves every school. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, Michigan State, the NFL, all of these places he's rotated. I mean, it's different.
Being the best coach ever.
Yeah, he's fantastic football coach. And not,
That helps.
yeah. So
So yeah, the polls came out for the football rankings this week that we're 6th in the football rankings preseason. Do you think that's too high or
in the Big 12,
yeah? Do you think it's too high or too low?
oh boy, I have put zero thought into this. I have no idea. Hunter, but the key to it's going to be Hunter. I mean, Hunter is 40 pounds lighter than he was last year. He is a specimen. Looks fantastic. I saw him when I told you in the last podcast. Took your brother to his camp, and Jalen Knoll looks like an MMA fighter. I saw him. He's put on a lot of weight. He's just a big kid.
Yeah.
And so does Jarrell Brock. I mean, the Miller kid from Jefferson could be an NFL tackle before it's all said and done. So I think we have a lot of unknowns. I mean, so I think 6 is probably pretty fair. I mean, just
Yeah.
because of the unknowns we have. We have a brand new tailback that we don't know about. We have new pieces on the offensive line. Having Xavier back is huge. Obviously, he's a fantastic wide receiver. But when you go from Brock Purdy to a guy that has limited snaps at the Big 12 level, you have no idea how it's all going to turn out. So,
And I did hear Campbell say that our receiving group is the deepest it's ever been.
yeah, I can
Which
believe it.
Which he's always been saying that the
Because
entire every
he
single
keeps
year.
recruiting.
Yeah.
I mean, back when Tim Floyd was around, he kept telling J.C. Holloway he was going to recruit over him,
Yeah.
and it never happened. But Campbell keeps recruiting, bringing
So
this.
we could have gotten Kirk Heinrich, but yeah.
Let's not talk about that. So, but the kid that we got from Florida, he was at camp too that day. I mean, he is a
Was it a Colorado transfer there? Did that ring a bell at all? I know he
the wide receiver. No, I didn't see him. I mean,
Yeah,
if he did, I didn't. I mean, that's the thing about football. You get so you can recognize them by their number, but you don't recognize them without their helmet on very often. I mean, I know Jalen Knoll because of him wearing your shirt last year in his YouTube thing.
Yeah.
And I think Orion Vance was there. Hunter, the thing I said this in the last podcast, that Hunter's left-handed, but he was playing catch with Jalen Knoll right-handed, which was kind of mind-blowing to me. But, yeah, so I think 6 is fair. I mean, I think we have no idea how it's going to all turn out.
Yeah,
at the end
but
of the
the
day.
thing about having an opinion on the rankings and all that, obviously it doesn't matter.
No,
at
it
all.
doesn't matter at all.
And I
Preseason All-American, doesn't matter.
I don't really know
Bang
what's
him ahead of
I just don't know, like, with all the new transfers and all that, I don't really know, like, the other schools. Like, obviously, back in the day where you knew, like, this person's coming back, this person's coming back. Now it's just, like, you have to keep track of, like, hundreds and hundreds of players that are going in and out. Like, there's probably some people going to watch Old Miss next year, like, Isheem Young, like, that looks familiar.
yeah, right.
Like,
Gosh.
how many times, but, like, obviously, that is far past, but, like, how many times is that going to happen next year? Like, where we look at a watching on a random game and you just see a player like, he looks familiar. I'm like, so he transferred?
That's a beautiful part about Hasheem going to Ole Miss versus Tyrese going to Texas.
Yeah.
Every time Ole Miss comes on and Hasheem gets a big hit, I am going to go bananas. When Tyrese hits a 3, I am not going to be happy. When he's because he plays for a team in our conference.
We'll be about as happy as
Jalen when Coleman Lands hit a 3 last year. Was not happy when he did that either.
Yeah, we'll be as happy as the 20 fans in the stands when he's playing it in front of Texas.
So can we talk about we got on the football subject? Have you seen the pictures of the walkway on the west side of the east side? It is sick.
Yeah, it's sweet.
I know I'm too old to say the word sick because I feel fine, but sick is a beautiful thing, and it is so cool.
Yeah,
that we've got it is such a long walk there too. I mean, if you've ever fought traffic going into the stadium, walking across that thing is going to be awesome.
Yeah, because you don't have to wait for the lights to change. I feel like the cops are going to love that.
So can you walk a 12-pack of Busch Light across the walkway like everybody else does in the intersection? I mean, you see that happen all the time too. Because aren't they moving the RVs out there?
Yeah, they have like Wi-Fi and like
oh my gosh,
all that jazz there. Which I don't know if Gustin's are they going to be in that lot?
Shout out to the Tim Gustafson and the Cyride bus. So we've been known them for forever, and guy that runs Wallabies and all those guys. Yeah, I don't know whether I haven't talked to him about it. I'm assuming they're going to have to move too, but that's really cool.
When you remember when that video came out, like this is the future of what's going to look like with the Power and Light District.
Yeah.
But we were all looking at the Power and Light District. Obviously, that's going to be incredible. But the bridge is first, obviously, but it looks magnificent. And I can't just wait till the Power and Light District comes.
So, but somebody was asking me this the other day, and I didn't have the answer. Where's all the parking go then?
I think they're gonna make some. I don't know. There's probably. They probably have another plan. They're
going to get rid of all of the intramural fields and move it all over there.
They probably just think of something. Like, but look at that. Like, okay, you didn't go to the Vegas game.
No.
The Raiders parking is the most biggest joke ever.
Oh, really?
They just have an NFL stadium and there's just like barely any parking. So like, obviously they have to park in the strip and all that.
Do they have parking garages at the hotels then too?
I don't know. It's just that was the weirdest part of the Vegas trip. It's like Mike, our uncle who lives in there, who hosted us, was just like look around. He's like, well, "There's no parking here." Like that's like the biggest complaint that they have about the Raiders being there is the parking situation is just a disaster there. Which I hope that doesn't happen to us.
So thinking back to last year, Who do we have non-conference this year? Do we have USD?
We have South Dakota, Iowa, Ohio.
Ohio's on there, yeah. So which ones are the away games?
We play at Iowa.
Yeah, I knew that.
I don't think we play at anyone else on the non-con.
Then who's our first Big 12 team?
I think it's usually Baylor at home.
So do we? Ohio's at home, right?
Yep.
Solich isn't coaching there anymore, is he?
I have no idea who that is.
He's the ex-Nebraska coach that they fired to get Bo Pelini.
Oh, yeah. We play Southeast Missouri.
Southeast Missouri.
And then we play at Iowa, Ohio at home, and then Baylor to start off Big 12. And then we play Kansas.
Powerful Kansas.
Yeah, there was a thing today. It said Will McDonald the last 2 years only has 2 less sacks than Kansas does as a team.
So, who's Cyclone Larry still posting the Texas?
No, I haven't seen Cyclone Larry. Cyclone Larry's been on big summer vacation for a while or something. I don't know if he got banned again or not. Because of, I think, wasn't it? He got banned because he said, "I'm gonna go kill beers" or something, because it said the word "kill" or something like that.
Or if you keep talking about this, we're going to go on the political route because we'll have to start talking about Elon.
It was something silly like that. Like it could have been.
Maybe he's got monkeypox.
It could have been like he thought he said something very vulgar and it was towards beer, but like if you say anything vulgar like that, they just kick you off.
He probably got mad because he was standing in line to get his monkeypox vaccine and couldn't get it. That was on the news tonight. Crazy.
Yep,
the world has gone crazy. So can I do my shout out?
Yep.
All right. So went on vacation to Florida with my wife for her birthday back in June. And there's some kids in a family. So they're kids meaning 20-somethings that are in a family, and they're listening to some tunes. And I kept thinking, man, I'm glad I didn't have to bring my speaker down here. We're sitting by the pool. I said, they have great taste in music. So we kind of listened to their stuff. And then the next day they sit closer to us, and it's 2 guys and 2 girls, and then a mom and dad about my age. And so then they're listening to their tunes close to us. And so then I don't know if I looked the wrong way, but then I could see the girl pick the speaker up and move it away from us. So like she thought I was offended by it or something. And so then it's just the mom down there. And I said, "Hey, do I need to give you a donation? Because you guys have really good taste in music." And then the girl said, "Well, I thought you were, it was making you uncomfortable." So anyway, talked to them for a second, went up to our room. I changed. I came down in an Iowa State shirt, and all of them reacted like they couldn't believe I had an Iowa State shirt on. So then they're from Iowa. And so so we started talking, and one of the kids goes to Iowa State, and he's taking an online class in the condo during breaks, and his girlfriend's with him, and then there's another dude with them who is dating the dad's daughter. And so my son's name is Will, and then his girlfriend's name is Riley. This dude's name is Will, and his girlfriend's name is Riley. So it's pretty easy to remember. And so we're just talking about stuff, and it's a beautiful day. And then somehow the topic of podcast comes up. And he goes, "Yeah, me and my buddies, we sit around, drink, and we laugh it up, and we're talking about stuff, and we thought it'd be kind of funny to record a podcast." So they started their own podcast. And so then I said, "Yeah, my son and I do a podcast." He goes, "What? Your son?" And so then we go back and forth, and we start talking about, technology of podcasts, and, and how many views they're getting, and then T-shirts and all of this crap. And kind of got in the weeds, and I think we started boring everybody because everybody else left, and it was Will and Riley and me and my wife sitting there talking about podcast stuff. And really cool guy, and so I had no idea what his podcast's like. So it's 3 guys that are like 23 that are doing a podcast talking about nothing. So there's not nothing, and I'll get to that in a second, but there's a lot of funny podcasts out there right now that don't talk about anything that's really deep. Well, these are 3 dudes from Southeast Iowa, all Hawk fans, which I'm not going to hold it against them. And I go out for a run the next day, and I listen to their podcast, and I am not kidding you. I'm laughing out loud. They debated whether flat Sprite is good or not for 20 minutes. And so I see them the next day, and so if I'm gonna tell you what the podcast name is. However, if you're my age and you don't like 20-something humor, it might not be for you. I thought it was kind of funny. A lot of F-bombs. They said my wife's probably not going to listen to it, but it's Undeniably Influenced is the name of their podcast. They are hilarious. They were just on. They gave us a shout out on there. They get about 2,000 views on YouTube per episode. They do a really good job on the YouTube side of it, which Thomas is trying to get back on the YouTube side of it. But they're funny guys, really solid guys. Will and I'm sorry guys, I don't remember your buddies' names, but they were talking about all sorts of stuff about fishing and just everyday kind of things. They're small town guys, really funny. If you listen to one of them and you hear them talk about mind goblin, you might get a little bit of a laugh out of it. I know I did. And Will's probably listening to this right now, and he probably thought it's funny that I actually brought that up. But good guys. They even have a merch site, too, that you can go to. We talked a lot about that, but it was just interesting talking to them. And then the last day, so then I got them some T-shirts for Sound the Sirens, and they're Hawk fans, but they said they'd wear it on their podcast. And so then we're getting ready to leave, and we live 4 hours further away from Florida than they do. So they drove. And so we're leaving at the same time they are, and they're packing up all of their crap into a minivan and heading out to drive back at the same time we are. And my wife and I kept thinking, there is no way I could get my kids to ride in the car with us for 20-some hours.
Yeah, I think you and Will would have killed each other.
Oh, my God. And Will, my son, not Will, this guy.
No.
And so, but he also forgot his ID. He's 22, goes on vacation and forgot his ID back in Iowa. And so,
how do you? Oh yeah, obviously he drove.
Yeah, he wasn't driving.
Yeah.
So he's the first time he figured it out. He was in the middle of Illinois somewhere or something, and went to a convenience store and didn't have his ID. And so, long story, but he calls back, tries to get a buddy of his to get his ID out of his car. Couldn't figure that out. Punched holes in his trunk. So he tells him to go to his house and get his old ID. So they ship it down to him. It's a long story, but he gets it like on Thursday, and it's his flipping learner's permit. And so this guy's, it's 8 years before. There's the picture on there, and he uses it in the bars, and it works. But he only has it for a day. I mean, so it was a lot of fun. It was always I told those guys we've run into guys from Bondurant down there before, and usually see a Hawkeye thing flying somewhere, but I don't see a lot of Florida guys. But they're super guys. If you wanted just a good laugh, go give them a try. I mean, if you get offended by it, it's a free country. Shut it off. I don't really care. But I think they're funny. They're good guys. They're just like Thomas and I. This is not our job. We're just doing this for fun. They're doing it just because they're just recording some of their friends sitting around talking. We're doing it because we're big Iowa State fans. They're not. That's fine. I've got tons of Hawkeye fans. That's totally fine. But I told them I'd give them a shout out. They're good guys, and it just made vacation much more fun, because the thing that they thought the coolest was our koozies.
Oh yeah.
I mean, we have your Instagram handle and your Twitter handle on our koozies, and I gave them some koozies, and I reached out to them on Instagram. I'm going to try to send them some more stuff. So that was a lot of fun. So I told them to give them a shout out. So it's Undeniably Influenced. If you want to go give them a shout, they'll have some stuff you might get a chuckle about. So,
not to change the subject at all, but thanks
but
for those guys.
But we're going to.
Big news: Jelani Hamilton is one above Sean Taggart on our recruiting rankings for
all-time Iowa State recruits. Sean Taggart was pretty good.
Sean Taggart, and then it goes Julian Hamilton, and the next one's Monte Morris.
Oh boy!
So we've had some studs come through Iowa State, and it's just, I don't know, I'm just pumped. I love good basketball, and it's just gonna be fun to look forward to that again.
I just wish we a couple of our misses we had this year in the transfer portal, and that kind of bums me out a little bit. But
what do you mean?
Well, we had a couple guys that we thought were going to transfer to.
Oh yeah, like AJ Green's probably going to.
Yeah,
he got
AJ
signed
Green,
with the Bucks, which you can't really fault him for that.
No, and I'm not blaming AJ at all. Would that have been fun?
He's had his college experience, and he's finally trying to. It would be so fun to see him play in the finals or something next year.
Yeah,
that'd be so fun, because obviously you can put it on the long laundry list of what ifs of Iowa State history.
Oh yeah,
put it down.
We've done that podcast.
Put it down for another one. Obviously, that's what I think these new recruits for the year after is going to help that. We're not going to be thinking backwards. AJ Green could be on our team right now.
Yeah.
We can't score, but I don't know. Obviously, basketball season's a little farther away. But
Yeah, football season's right up. I mean, I'm looking forward to high school football season. I'm looking forward to college football season. Your brother is going to head into his senior year. We went to a couple shootouts this summer, and they're using the shot clock in high school for the first time. And we were playing Winterset. Winterset was in the state tournament last year. So were we. We only had 2 starters with us, and we were hanging with Winterset. But 2 of the 3 games we played in the Winterset shootout, the shot clock was a factor at the end of the game. Where it forced us to take a shot at the end of the game when we were ahead, and we ended up losing. And so it's going to change the high school game, turn it more into a college type. You're not going to see those scores that you see at the state tournament, I don't think.
But what do you think about the high school game is going to change for Northwest Iowa and like the NCC? Like, will it? I think a lot of it growing up and obviously watching all of your games, coaching around this area, a shot clock is going to take away the teams that just hold the ball and
Correct.
the better team just has an off night. Like, there's no escaping being bad at offense.
The
You know,
thing that if you went back into the analytics on it, there's not many games where the shot clock is going to be a factor in the middle of the second quarter or the middle of the third quarter. It's the end of the quarter. And so at the end of a game, end of a half, where let's say you're not very good on offense and you've got a 5-point lead, there's a minute and a half left in the half, and you decide to hold it and wait for them to foul you. Or just make them play defense for a minute and a half.
or yeah, like
you can't do that anymore.
you could start
That's
like
exactly what happened in the shootout that I went to.
what the holding the ball for 3 minutes, the last 3 minutes of the game. That's going to go away, which is
Should have gone away when they took the peach basket down and put a net up. I mean that should have gone away a long time ago. So some of these state tournament games, because there's still coaches out there that'll do that they know they can't. I mean, it happened to me. I had a bunch of really, really good players. We were undefeated, and the first round of districts we're going against a team that cannot match us offensively, and they started stalling on their
Algona.
first. Don't diss my guys in Algona. They're good guys.
2006.
Yeah, so they started stalling at the beginning of the game. And so then it took us a while. So they kept running their offense, and then I finally figured out what was going on because I wasn't the sharpest knife in the drawer, obviously. But that has gone away. I mean, and so it's going to force you to have to take some. So it's going to make coaching a little harder because now you're going to have to have some plays that you're going to run in the middle of a quarter just to get a shot if you struggle offensively. So like we played we went down to Winterset and played Grandview Christian. It's a 1A school. They have 2 7-footers. And so if you have a 7-footer, but you can't shoot, which they did have a shooter, so that's a different animal altogether.
Also, if you are a 7-footer, you have a 1 in 10 shot of making the NBA.
Yeah, so if they're playing so if you have a 7-footer or a 6'10" kid, but you have a bunch of guys that can't shoot, which is not Grandview Christian. I'm just using this as an example. You have to have a play to get the ball to that 7-footer, regardless whether there's 4 guys guarding him or not. So it's going to make it fun. I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm looking forward to football season. I think our local team is going to be really good. Who knows what'll happen, but did go to get a shout out to Derek Clark. He's been on our podcast before. He's former middle linebacker for Iowa State. Went to Mystic Lake in Minneapolis on Monday and saw the Black Crows, which if you're a child of the 80s and 90s, Black Crows are really good, and they sounded exactly like they did in the 90s, and Derek and I and our wives had a fantastic time. If you've never been to Mystic Lake in Minneapolis to a concert, it is, I was just telling you before we started, though, it is depressing to walk through a casino on a Monday night at 11 o'clock and see who's there. It is not a happy sight to see this is the way they're spending their time.
Yeah, it's America, though. You can do whatever you want.
With a pack of Pall Malls and shoving quarters into a slot machine. But it was fun.
The next, not to change it, go backwards, but
Change the subject on me again.
back to
Tom.
high school rules and college rules even at that point. What I want to be, the one rule I want to be implemented is like at least one timeout where you can advance the ball.
Yeah,
In the
I
fourth
agree.
quarter.
I agree.
I think that would be so fun.
Yeah.
Like that would make the coaching more fun because you can draw up a play for game winning shots. Because if you look at the stats of like how many times you win a game winning shot, it's not very high.
Right.
But just to have a shot, not just like throwing half court shots.
Right.
I think that would be obviously the shot clock is a huge move forward in Iowa athletics for basketball, but for even college, that'd be fun
Yeah.
if we can advance the ball like the NBA.
Yeah,
Because
why doesn't college do it?
I don't know.
Why are the girls doing 4 quarters and the men are still doing 2 halves?
Why can't girls rules? Why can't they just all be the
It's
same?
still basketball.
No, but why can't it just all be the same? Why can't
Right.
there be 4 quarters and just the same rules? So it's not like I see how it can be confusing for some people. Is like, well, that's different, and like girls, like is girls having shot clock for?
I think so.
So
I'm
does that
not
get?
sure.
'Cause
That's a good question.
yeah, so obviously we don't have a you don't have a daughter playing basketball
No.
or anything, so you wouldn't know. But I don't know. The advancing the ball would be it would get a lot more like buzzer beater shots for people on Tik, like like just how many more good experiences that would make for like kids that
Well, but
you know what I mean?
the thing about the excitement level of putting 4 quarters, for instance, is that you add 2 more buzzer beaters to the end of a game
Yeah,
for a game. Buzzer beaters are one of the most exciting things about basketball.
that's not like a dunk or you know
Now,
what I mean?
making a shot when the buzzer goes off gets the crowd excited all the time.
Yeah,
And so by putting 4 quarters in, you possibly eliminate one of those stupid TV timeouts they have. They have that in the state tournament in Iowa, and they have it obviously in the NCAA tournament all the time. So you eliminate an unnatural TV timeout in the middle of a game. Yeah, I don't know why the men aren't doing 4 quarters. I mean,
yeah. The thing is like even buzzer beaters, like you're saying, is like a big deal no matter what it is. Like even if you're like the guy shooting for the tractor or the lawnmower at
right,
Hilton hits it, even if he just doesn't even hit the rim
right,
the whole time, but hits the last one, like
yep,
we go nuts. That's a great example of like I think the buzzer beaters would enhance basketball
yep,
even more than it is now because I think even like being a kid and like you aren't like obviously like mental health and all that jazz is not the best for like kids in high school nowadays, I don't think.
yep.
And like how many of those players would go out for basketball still if like they just had one more good experience if they make a buzz beater, you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
to keep the experience going on. And I think that would be another reason why they need to advance the ball.
Yeah, I don't the some of it is simplicity. I mean, there is a major league shortage of officials right now in every sport. So I'm
Yeah, what if
sure.
a referee forgets?
Right.
That's where it gets dicey.
Yeah. That's the thing about the shot clock. So when we were at the shootout, we had a kid running the shot clock, and so then just to keep it fair, one of the assistant coaches started running it at the end because the kid was really having to pay attention to do it. And so you're going to have somebody that is totally engaged in the game that is not a parent. There is no way in hell I'm going to run the shot clock at one of your brother's games this year.
Yeah, you can't be yelling at the refs and worrying about the
That's
clock.
right. But you can't be emotionally involved in the game. You have to be paying attention. You have to understand basketball too. You have to understand when the ball hits the rim that you have to
Yeah.
reset it.
There could be a lot of like, I'm not gonna touch it.
Yeah, but the official who I think he was practicing too. I bet he was at the bench because I was keeping the book for that game. I bet he was at the bench 9 times during the game to correct
So
an
you're,
issue with the shot clock.
so you're gonna say it's gonna be like you're not excited how Will's last year playing high school basketball, my brother, is gonna be playing the first year of the shot clock. Do you think it's gonna be a disaster?
No, I
Kind
don't
of.
think it'll be a disaster, but I think it's going to be similar to not as bad, but it's similar to the first year that we went from 6-on-6 to 5-on-5 for girls. There's a lot of rule explaining going on then.
I don't remember that.
Well, because you weren't born, but I do remember it. I mean, I was coaching a Winterset, and the first JV 5-on-5 girls game that Winterset ever played, I think the ball hit the
I've heard some
wall on the fly like 30 times.
I've heard some ladies that played back then that think they should go back to that. Go back to
Yeah,
six
it was
on
just
six.
unique. It was a different game. I mean, 6-on-6 is just is not traditional basketball. But anyway, so I'm just saying I don't think it's going to be that big of a learning curve, but you're going to have some of these 1A schools that struggle to get somebody to run the clock in general. Now they got to find somebody to run the shot clock too. God help us if they have to run the regular scoreboard and the shot clock at the same time.
But probably why they've waited this long is because it's just another thing for parents to complain about.
Correct. Yeah.
And things that go wrong. And obviously, it's just going to be interesting to see. Obviously, I don't know, but like obviously what I've seen on Twitter, seen on social media, that parents right now are just insufferable on the
And
refs,
that, but it's
which
I
I'm included in that. Which I'm not a parent, but like
I don't think it's any worse than it was
you don't
20
think it
years.
was?
No,
All
I don't
right.
think it's any worse today than it was 20 years ago. I think social media has
Amplified it.
amplified it exactly. And so you can't tell me in the 50s when a little town in the middle of nowhere was playing a basketball game at some of these gyms that were just literally like a closet. They were so small.
Yeah.
And how you just watch Hoosiers. I mean, that's what it was like in the 50s. But there was no social media. And so if some parent confronted an official after a game, unless the town cop got involved, everybody forgot about it.
And also,
Nowadays, it's blasted around social media everywhere.
but also my argument towards that is now with the social media is like now you see the recruiting sites. Now I want to get my kid in the AU tournament. I want him to be on YouTube with the
Yeah.
flashy highlight, and I don't want the refs to ruin it. And there's just way more games now. Like there's
Right.
more AU games. There's more games when you're playing when you're little. It's year round now.
It's
not
more
just,
of an
it's not
emphasis,
seasonal.
though. Everybody thinks their kid's going to play D1. Back then, kids were, that was when people were just going to college on a regular basis. Parents weren't caring whether the kid played college basketball. They just wanted them to go to college, period.
Yeah, but now with the media and the technology's changed, everything's so digital and everything's in your face. Back then,
All the time.
Iowa State wasn't on TV. Like
Right.
like now everything's just
High school games are on TV.
yeah,
I mean,
like
I watch Omaha Blue play in the high school national championship game this year on ESPN. I sit down and watch the whole stinking thing.
yeah. We can go on YouTube and watch Will's
Right, entire season.
Yeah, sophomore year. Like
Watch his soccer games.
Yeah.
I mean, that was another thing. He played in the state soccer tournament this year. That's another animal altogether. His soccer parents
yeah,
talking crap to my kid
I'm
while
s-
he's playing the game. I mean,
which is
and then I hate to say it, but it happened in basketball this year too. I mean, we've seen it on the film where there's parents from an opposing team yelling at one of our players because he committed to Iowa State, saying he should have been a Hawkeye. You can hear it's an adult yelling at him from the stands while he's shooting a free throw at this 18-year-old kid because of his college choice.
yeah. People have lost their minds.
Yeah. So that I didn't hear it that night, but when I watched it in the film, it got me a little wound up.
That's just what I'm worried about with the shot clock. That's the only thing I'm really worried about. Obviously, the transition is going to be pretty rocky at the very beginning of the season. Obviously, they'll probably get in tune to what it's like the flow of the game,
Yeah.
but just on the refs and the lack of refs, and it's just like another like. There's a lot of people your age and above that have been reffing for a long time that are probably just sick of it. They've done years. It's maybe it's getting worse. Maybe the pandemic and people were just like. And like just the way it is now, everything's divided and everyone's more angry now. It
Yeah.
seems like it's just a way to get anger out.
Well,
That-
and I hate to say it, and we're not going to get political, but we're heading into a fall with an election.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to sit there and watch all of these stupid political ads
Just
24/7 on everything
Just tearing everyone apart.
in the fall heading into an election. So everybody's going to be more polarized than they already are. I mean, that's just so don't watch any of that crap and
It's just
just
a
try to
cy-
get along.
Yeah, it's just a cycle.
Get along with my buddies that undeniably influenced the Hawkeye fans that I kind of connected with. I mean, that's the way it should be. I have a lot of Hawk fans that
Yeah,
I
just
get along with.
Go to the review and just type in 1-star Go State.
No.
How about that? That would get him. No. Yeah, that's like with the review stuff. I don't even realize like there's no like data like what helps. There's just like it's just not like there's no like way to look. I don't think like like you say if you review this it'll like peak everything, but I've never seen like the correlation. I've never seen like there's way more reviews and then it's because like Apple Music, like Apple Podcasts, there's not like explore like I don't know about you, but like, I don't go explore page like you
No.
already know what you're listening to.
Right.
So
I do the Explorer every once in a while if I'm bored, but I don't look at the reviews.
yeah, that's what I mean. Like I just
Yeah.
don't get how either it's
I wonder if you get a high review, if that trickles it up on the suggested ones on the algorithm they have. I mean, I listen to most of my podcasts on Spotify, totally honest. I mean,
yeah.
so, I mean, I don't know. I mean,
But there's not that many Iowa State podcasts out there, like
No.
it's like not like there's not like 70 think about your buddies with the podcast you're talking about. How many podcasts are where there's people just talking crap and
Right.
stories out there versus like Iowa State podcasts?
Right. But they're just talking about,
Random topics.
like Mark Norman's
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, Mark Norman's getting famous, but he's also really funny. And these guys aren't famous, but they're also pretty funny. I mean,
Yeah.
it's entertainment. I mean, that's what a podcast is supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's not supposed to be, you're deciding whether you're going to go get a hysterectomy because of a podcast.
Some people do.
Yeah.
Some
Could be.
some people, yeah.
I've got my schedule for next week.
Right. All right. Well, it's been a good one, and we got some good recruits coming in. We got football. It's as the day. It's
We're going to do this more often.
49 days. We got
Right.
more podcasts coming down.
We're going to
But-
get Ryan Harklaw back on.
got-
He texted him. He's going to come back on. We
Yep.
just have to get him scheduled.
Yep. We'll
Been working on a big one. Haven't heard back yet. Working on possibly the biggest interview we've done yet, if we could pull it off. But haven't heard yet. Gonna try to find a couple more guys. We've reached out to Cantrell Horton. I reached out to
Yeah.
Corey Lucius,
We'll
some
get-
other guys.
yeah.
But
I've
we
been-
haven't confirmed anybody.
Yeah, my job has been landscaping. It's been labor. It's been the weather's been very humidity. It's been so by the end of the day, I'm usually dead. That's
Yeah,
what
right.
I'm saying.
Yeah. So
And
it's
it's
been
actually
hot.
been kind of a dead period at Iowa State. There's really football's been like not a lot of hype, which I think is not. It's
It's
on
okay.
it's on
That's
purpose.
okay.
I think that's the way Campbell and the staff wants it to be. Because think of the 2017 year. How much hype was that?
Yeah.
0.
Yeah.
And I think it's just 49 days away from seeing Southeast Missouri. I thought we were playing South Dakota for literally 6 months, but now it's Southeast Missouri. Yeah. So it's gonna.
They are a red color, I guess. But
I don't know how I messed that up.
That's
I thought
right.
I swear it was South
everybody
Dakota.
will forgive you, Thomas.
So yeah,
So we still have shirts.
we got
still have
shirts.
koozies. We still have hats. SoundTheSirens.com.
Yep.
Go check it out.
Check
Need
it
some
out.
more new gear. We're trying to come up with a new shirt. Just haven't pulled the trigger on it yet.
Yep. Gas went down 10 cents, so life's good.
Yeah, it's not good till it gets down to where it was a year ago. I'll tell you that.
All right. Well, we appreciate you guys listening.
Thanks for listening to us. We're going to be back. Don't give up on us. We're doing this for fun.
Yeah.
We just kind of took a hiatus because Thomas had a new job. I've been busy. Follow Thomas on Twitter. He is in countdown mode. He's got some good highlights. Sound
Yep.
the Sirens. Instagram. Check him out.
Yep.
TikTok.
All right. We out.
Go Cyclones.
Go Cyclones.